Hello, Villa Park. This is Al Stash, and I have with me Rick Goldman from Golden Spike Development. He is the principal of a project that's going to be built over at the METRA station on North Ardmore Avenue in Villa Park. Rick, thanks for joining me today. I appreciate you being here to talk about this project.
Al, it's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Great, great. You know, a lot of people think they know what the project's about, and we're going to go right to you and ask you, what is Garden Station Project?
Well, Garden Station is really the transformation of the entire north side of Villa Park, the village. Our property consists of property from Ardmore on the west, Beverly on the east, to Vermont on the north, and the METRA station on the south. So it really is all-inclusive. It is a very, very large piece of a redevelopment to begin in a village that really is going to be transformed in many, many ways from a project of this kind of magnitude and this kind of presentation. So what Garden Station is a mixed-use urban infill project that will enliven the METRA station and truly create a downtown for Villa Park, which I think we're most excited about. Yeah. We'll have 230 residential luxury apartments, and this will be a level of quality and amenities that nobody in DuPage County has seen before. So this is going to be on par with a downtown high-rise living experience. So level of finishes, custom flooring, it will have quartz countertops, stainless steel appliances. You will have custom European-style kitchens. Mm-hmm. The amenity package will be similar to the greatest resorts that people have traveled to. So not just a swimming pool on the deck, but there will be a yoga studio with private yoga instruction. Mm-hmm. There will be a billiards room. There will be opportunities to play cards, to cook, to do all kinds of very interesting creative activities in kind of a very, in a luxury community that will all be centered around what is, we believe, to be the new heart of Villa Park.
Well, a lot of times people have talked about, Villa Park does not have a downtown, and this is a great opportunity to bring that to the village. But one of the other things I want to ask you about is it's located directly adjacent to the METRA station, which is a transportation, already very busy, popular station for the METRA line on the west side. How are you going to incorporate that into your design?
Well, the METRA station is clearly one of the integral parts of our design because we consider the METRA line to be one of the gateways into the village. So it is simply not just going down Route 83 or North Avenue, but we consider the METRA, the Union Pacific West line rather, being a gateway to the village from both the east and the west, right. Particularly from the east. So anybody going from downtown to the other bedroom communities along the line, this is your first impression of the village. Right. And that's where we're so excited. In fact, this was one of the main attractions to us of the site, which the proximity to the METRA allows you to open this project up to so many new residents to Villa Park. Mm-hmm. I think that's one of the things we're most excited about. The Villa Park has so much to offer as a community, but these things are often not apparent to someone. So the connection to the METRA station allows us to connect to people that currently live downtown but perhaps work in the suburbs, mm-hmm. and vice versa, that would like to change that. Right. And it also gives us the opportunity for people that work downtown to move into the suburbs, that don't want to live downtown anymore, but want to because they perhaps grew up in the area or are familiar with Eastern DuPage County, like what that has to offer, starting a different part of their life, and now it gives you the chance to incorporate that person that probably right now isn't part of the community.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit about the type of people that you envision being occupants of the property. For example, is it a senior residence? Is it a young professionals? How do you envision marketing it to those folks?
I love that question, Al, because we're asked that in every one of our projects that we do across the country. And I think everybody wants to fit in a box of a number of somebody who is between the age of X and Y and of the median income of this and that. You know what? We never design any of our projects that way. I'll tell you who's going to live in this project. The person that's going to live in this project is somebody who appreciates quality, appreciates design, appreciates energy efficiency, because we are going to be LEED certified at a minimum and maybe the highest level. We just finished a LEED Platinum, which is the highest level of energy efficiency that you can achieve in the world. So we appeal to a person that says, I want all of these things in a maintenance-free rental environment, which gives me flexibility. So who is that person? Well, that's a lot of people.
Sure.
It could be you, for all I know. We just opened a project in Albuquerque, New Mexico, where a large population was people that came in, signed a lease, and went back and put their house on the market and sold after signing a lease with us, saying, we were just waiting for a product like this to come, because what does it provide? It provides luxury with a high level of design, incredibly energy efficient, maintenance-free. I can come and go as I please. I don't have all the burdens of home ownership or any of the things that go with it. And I was just waiting for this to happen. So certainly, I would say if you take in what I just said about a person who really appreciates design, quality materials, this is what we're talking about, Al, is a lifestyle. What I've just described is a lifestyle. That's what we are bringing to Villa Park. This isn't just a place to hang your hat at the end of the day. This isn't just shelter. This is a different thing. This is a lifestyle. This is a choice that you make. And that's part of the reason we've been so excited about Villa Park as a community for so long, is because Villa Park is right smack in the epicenter of Chicago land proper.
Right.
So between the METRA, access to both 355 and 294, to 290 and everything, both airports.
Surrounded.
And what's going on? And you say you got all that proximity, and now what don't we have is luxury rentals. So we don't have this in the community right now, right?
Right.
And we don't have a modern aesthetic, a clean looking. This is a building built for the next generation. So I think that's important to say too. When you're creating a lifestyle, we're trying to build something for the next 50 or 100 years. So we don't look in the rearview mirror and say, well, this is all that's happened to date. And, quite frankly, the nice thing about this particular area is you're dealing with a blank canvas. There is not a very strong architectural fabric currently existing here of buildings of historical substance or a vocabulary that needs to be filled in. We have an opportunity as both a developer and a community to create a new palette. And I think that's really important, really, really important. I think, we have a tendency to look in the rearview mirror as communities and say, well, this is what we've always done. And then something gets built and people say, wow, I love that. It's not what I anticipated, and it's not what I expected. So when you're doing a destination project like this, where you're bringing in a new resident, you're bringing in a new whole downtown to people to build around to create a fabric, this is one piece of it. So I think there's always something to be said about an interesting fabric of a lot of different designers. So, and I'm hoping that people that end up developing the west side of Ardmore take on their architectural bent that we take on, and that everybody is looking towards the future and not the past. And by the future, it's not just design. It has to do with building technology and materials. It's going to be a state-of-the-art building.
Right.
The level of connectivity to this building will be unlike anything anybody's ever said. Every home in this project will have access to dish, direct, cable, AT&T, phone, wireless. I mean, everything in these hubs that are in the units and the level of connectivity. Just
so you
to
don't
begin
have
with.
to just pick one and say that's what's in the building.
No,
Right.
You'll have all that. Then you'll have a state-of-the-art heating, ventilation, and cooling system that'll be controlled by your smartphone. That'll anticipate your living patterns and what you've done. So this is a building for tomorrow. So I think it's very important as a community that we embrace this and say, with that comes a new look and a clean look and a very aesthetic that appeals to the person we just talked about. So getting back to your question, who is that? Well, I think in a lot of regards it's you, Al. I think it's a a person that happens to be working in the Oak Brook business corridor. I think it's people that grew up in the neighborhood and aren't ready for a home yet. I think it's people that currently live here and don't want a home right now. I think it could be those and more, to come on. So I think we're going to build a very dynamic community. I think we're going to have a lot of different ages. We're going to have a lot of different walks of life, a lot of different people, and I think that's what makes a vibrant community. And I think that's what will fuel the retail component on our ground floor. I think it will fuel future development of other retail and shops around this Ardmore district, or the Garden Station as we call it, because there's so many incredible attributes that we have to talk about.
Right. Well, and I totally agree with you. Let's move forward. Let's progress. Let's build something from this point out. Because that area needs that type of thing. I mean, it is a TIF district, tax increment financing district. So, I mean, that is designed to encourage this type of development. That's what it's for.
That's exactly what it's for. This is an absolute perfect way that the system works. This is a win-win situation, Al. Been in a lot of projects, and I'm happy to say I've been in a lot of win-wins. Generally most of our career. But this is really probably on the largest scale the biggest win-win for both the community, for the residents, for the developer. There's no losers in this situation, and I think that's really important. I think that's a special opportunity, is to say everybody is going to win in this situation. So we're going to bring in a revitalized and a core and a downtown to a city that wants to have one, and really, in many regards, deserves one. We're going to bring in new residents. We're going to take an area that is currently right now utilized and certainly in need, and to create a downtown. One of the elements, if I could I introduce our design a little bit to you as we begin to look at some of the beautiful features of our building. This is a view looking along Ardmore. Is that one of the things that you'll be able to see?
This is towards the east.
Yes,
towards the east.
This is facing east. So this is Ardmore, and the train station is to our south, right here. Now, one of the key elements of our concept is to create a public plaza, which we feel very, very strongly will become kind of Villa Park's Main Street. This will be where you grab an ice cream cone in the summer and sit with your neighbors and enjoy a nice summer night. This will be when you come off the Prairie Path and you want to grab a pop or a coffee or something, because this dramatic space here between, an open plaza that really opens up Ardmore to the entire project. The village just hasn't seen much like this.
No.
So this is a very urban concept, a very European concept, to have that square, that town with a lot of density around it. But we don't have anything like that here. And many other communities don't. So I think it gives us a point of difference. One of the things when you've got a rare opportunity like this to create something that doesn't exist and you're not building off something, is you get to distinguish yourself, which is very important. We're creating a destination. So we're going to create a project that nobody's ever seen before.
Right.
And I think that's very important. I think to try to slide in with something that everybody's seen wouldn't be in Villa Park's best interest.
No.
You have to create something that says, wow, did you see that? Did you see what they did in Villa Park?
Especially in that area. As you said, the first focal point of the village as you're coming across on the METRA.
Absolutely.
Systems.
That says, wow, look at this modern, incredible, clean, energy efficient with, landscaping and a public meeting area. So I think there's a lot of really interesting things that you could see along the facade. A lot of outdoor living space for each resident. As you can see, we have a retail component that faces Ardmore on the ground floor.
Right.
We'll have some building amenity in here as well, depending on how that actually all shakes out. And then this vocabulary is really extended completely around, and here is what the view would look like from the METRA station.
Okay.
So as you can see, this is a striking.
The train station is over here.
It is.
Okay.
And as you can see, this is part of a train coming westbound from downtown. So we are
Chicago,
So we are looking north and a little bit west from the METRA platform.
From the tracks, yes.
Correct.
Okay.
And as you can see, this is a dramatic, striking welcome to Villa Park. I mean, this is something that's going to take people's attention and command the kind of respect that Villa Park should have to say, wow, here's a community that really has something to say. Right. I got to go here. What's going on here? And I think that's very important, Al, because when you come up and you see something that gives you a wow factor, that's what gets people to want to come back. So even if you live further west and you keep going on, you might say, hey, let's try that new restaurant they put in there. Hey, let's do something. There's been a lot of examples up and down the METRA stations in both the Northwest line, the North lines, particularly Arlington Heights comes to mind, where they did some dramatic things in Arlington Heights back at the beginning that then became an incredible destination. I think Villa Park has all the same potential.
And not only for residents, Rick, but there's business interests that come down this track on their way home, and they look at that and they say, well, wait a second, here's an opportunity, here's something that I can be included in.
Yes.
As a business in Villa Park.
Of course. And not only does it say, I could be, but it says, I want to be. This is going to say, when we do something as dramatic and interesting and modern and clean as we're doing, this says to the world, we're doing something for tomorrow. We are looking into the future as a community, and we are opening up a whole new realm of development and person that doesn't currently exist here. And this coexists very well with what's here.
Right.
I mean, Garden Station is part of the Garden City. You know what I mean? Of how we come from the idea and how the Garden Village plays off of kind of a clean, modern aesthetic with some modern density, I think works extremely well with the single-family houses and the heavily treed and lined streets and everything that comes together. And we've seen this in many cities. We study this stuff, Al, across the country. As developers, we look, we see what works, what doesn't work. There are many, many examples where you get a very special building like this, and it coexists extremely well with single-family homes because you're not trying to be just a big single-family home. And a lot of times people want to say, oh, it's supposed to look like, well, it's not, because it's something very different.
Right. So it's not going to look like somebody else's house.
No, and we don't believe it should. I mean, we believe...
Or the developments that are there already.
Exactly.
Apartment buildings that are there already.
No, that look like little brick things or something like that. That this has to have an identity of its own. As you said, that speaks to future residents, current residents, and potential business owners to say, wow. And I'm confident that when we complete this building, that is what the world will say. Wow, look what they did in Villa Park. And when people start saying that, good things happen.
Right.
That's what needs to happen, Al, is when people start saying, wow, did you see what they did in Villa Park? You got to go see it. You know what? People do. And then they say, hey, what about across the street? Well, maybe I'll do my boutique there. Hey, I was thinking about a restaurant in this community, but now, boy, look at this. It was so easy to get to. I'm on a train line. They've got 200 people. So this is the benefit of the TIF district, as you said, going on, is that when a catalyst for getting a project like this started and going, the magnitude is tremendous, particularly for the village. I mean, it's really, without sounding trite, it's almost endless. I mean, if you think about just this alone, just the revenue alone, this project will generate $1 million a year in additional tax revenue
for Villa Park,
just in its first year. And the village has 100 years of this with things going on. So as the TIF pays off and burns off, the village will end up getting and that just mushrooms into what happens across the street. Because let's not forget that people that come here buy gas in this village, they shop in this village, they go to the market here at St. Charles, they buy something at the drugstore, they go to get a cup of coffee. All that revenue starts to happen too, because now we have 230 residents that live in a small, modern apartment, which says we live out on the means we go out to eat more, means we pick up things, we do something. This is the type of person, getting back to your earlier question, that comes here. So that benefit, and then any future development, that no one comes over and says, wow, it looks like this. It doesn't look like what we currently see there. It looks like this. Well, now I'm apt to say, hey, that salon that I was going to do in Glen Ellen, well, maybe I want to do it here now because I see these people right here, and I like all the things that we just talked about.
And there is commercial property that would be around this that is not touched by this project. That property, I guess what you're saying is, will become immediately more valuable to someone wanting to develop in Villa Park.
Absolutely.
They'll say, I want to be there. I want to be across the street. I want to be around the corner.
Absolutely. You need vision right now to see what this community could become.
Right.
This is the vision becoming a reality. So once the reality is there, it's much easier for the second and third and fourth people to come and to play off of it and to create its own fabric and its own identity. And what does this town look and feel like in this area between around the metro station that becomes the real kind of from the, call it the Ardmore Bridge, to the train tracks, that really has that feel of a downtown,
sure.
Which I'm quite confident will happen, and I think it will happen quickly.
Rick, tell me a little bit about the residents. You touched on it in a couple of areas. What are the amenities that they're going to experience living in this property?
Well, as I said, this would be equivalent to a resort type amenity. So you're going to have a swimming pool, sun deck,
an indoor pool.
An outdoor swimming pool.
Pool, okay.
Outdoor swimming pool in the center of the courtyard kind of area,
okay,
private,
center of the
gated.
Group, okay.
There'll be a very heavily landscaped structured deck. There will be a yoga studio. There'll be a fitness facility. There'll be billiards. There'll be kind of like a boutique hotel lobby situation, a lounge kind of area for greeting guests, welcoming people, like a living room of sorts. There'll be all kinds of interesting places to gather, to create, whether it's exhibition kitchens. And we haven't defined 100% of all of these different uses, but the amenity level here will be beyond what anyone has ever seen. And I think that's part of apartment life in these days. So when we're asked, as we see a shift in people that choose to live in a building like this, they live in it for many reasons. So a lot of times we hear a lot of things about what's the cost to own versus renting? Cost to own. It's a bigger question than that. Yeah. And it's more dynamic. And it's not fair to take a very complicated question like that and distill it into, if my mortgage is this much, why would anybody rent for this much? And I'll tell you why they rent for this much. I'll tell you why. Yeah. Number one, they just get all those amenities.
Right.
I don't have those in my home. I'm assuming you don't either, Al.
No.
So those are important to people. They say, I'd like to live there. Number one, they'd like to be able to maybe move somewhere and not have to worry about selling or coming up.
Being able to a year, 2 years out.
Well, I got a new job. I got a new wife. I've got a new spouse. Something happened. I want to go. Whatever. I mean, be able to be flexibility. People pay a premium for that. To say, you know what? I picked up. I'm good, and I don't have any kind of strings attached to me. People pay a premium for that. I don't want to mow the lawn. Right. I don't want to know if it rains or not, if their roof is going to leak. I don't want to deal with that stuff.
Right.
And guess what? If the toilet's clogged, I want to make a phone call.
Somebody will fix it.
Yeah, I'm going to call, and in 30 seconds, we'll have somebody up there. So those all things have a value to a certain people. Getting back to my initial capital budget, but this is a lifestyle. This is a choice of a lifestyle for a very large part of the American population, and one that's getting bigger every year.
Yeah. Now, these retail places that are along Ardmore Avenue on the first level, on both sides of the open courtyard space, and then a little bit around facing the train station. These are going to be places that the residents can take advantage of as far as their lifestyle, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Places
these are certainly geared towards amenities for the residents. So we see this as really as dry cleaning and drop off, maybe a market, you know what I mean? But it'll be a smaller market, it would be a cafe, maybe a little bakery,
so more
a coffee shop,
and
things to grab and get upstairs and do something. But I think things that the village would really like having too that aren't currently there. Right. And then we really see along the in an effort to tie in the metro station. One of the things the village had really asked us, because they want to engage the metro station into their downtown, is to create some sort of family restaurant, all the way as close to the metro station as we can.
Kind of pointing at the station.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that would be a destination. So, obviously, as the further you get away from Ardmore, the more of a destination you need to be. So we have like a deck here that we've created, so there could be outdoor dining in the nicer months with umbrellas. That's something that you really see when you come in. Maybe you want to stop here and grab a beer on your way home from work. Maybe you want kids after a Little League game or what have you. So we really want to see this become some sort of iconic Villa Park kind of establishment that really the village can call its own.
Excellent, excellent. Now, you also mentioned leads, and you touched on that a little bit in terms of the different levels that they have. And we have a police station in town here that was designed with a leads characteristic, even some growing garden space on,
Yep.
on the roof.
That's right.
And some drain systems around the building. How do you envision, and first of all, explain leads to our viewers, and also what is your goal for leads?
Okay, well, LEED stands for Leadership in Environmental Engineering and Design, and it is administered by the United States Green Building Council. And it is the way that the North American building community has found a way to structure and define different levels of energy efficiency. So most people hear of Energy Star, when you see it on an appliance.
Right.
That means a rating agency has determined the consumption of the machine versus, this is taking that to the next level in a structured format, so we're all playing by the same rules.
So the building is going to be efficient.
The building will
energy and environmentally
The building will be the most energy efficient building that has ever been built in this area. And what that means for residents is it costs very little to heat, cool, and drink out of it. So it has benefit not just socially and in saying that we have done something that achieved this. And that's not just from operational costs. That comes from using recycled materials. That comes from how much the dirt do you use? Where do the materials come from? It encourages you to, so you're not putting things on trucks from California, you're putting them on from Indiana, right? So you've got a lot less fuel. You've got a lot of, so this is a concept that goes from building inception that we will start working on as now in the drawing phase, all the way through the end result, which is a building that runs very efficiently and takes very little energy to run and operate. And that's our goal. And we do that because we think it's important for the environment. And we believe that, again, as a modern building and being the first of its kind, that this is important to this customer and gets more important every year.
Now, this building will go, as you pointed out early on, from the METRA station north to Vermont.
Correct.
And then east towards Beverly, which is the street that's just east, or actually tees into the train station. And is it going to start the whole footprint and build up, or is there going to be a sequence that these parts of the building will
Nope,
be
this will be built at one. This is one large building that will be built at one time.
Okay.
So upon receiving our final approvals from the village, we will release the architects to draw. At commencement, all of the structures will be demolished, and that construction will begin most likely we will work probably from a point kind of right at the south end of the 415 building and come all the way back around like that. So we have to progress in one direction to build, but this is not a multi-phase project. This will not be done phase 2 or phase 3, or the first phase is 80 units. All 230 units will be completed within a month of each other. So we might be turning some of the units over that are finished initially while we're still finalizing interior build out here.
The interior, right.
Yeah, but that's just because you're staggering weeks because there's only so many workers you could, like in any construction progress, as the structure becomes complete here, we'll still be putting the skin on the building here, but we could be putting plumbing fixtures in here, and as we work our way around. So,
but the outside, the core of the building will be up.
Yeah, definitely. So, we would like, this will be one contiguous process to complete the building.
Okay. You spoke to the village board a little while ago, a couple days ago, a week or two, and you described kind of a timeline that you were envisioning. It wasn't in stone because lots of things have to happen to get to a point. But when do you envision residents being able to live in this space?
I think we'll be moving our first residents in April of 2018.
2018,
yeah.
So a couple of years out. But
well, it's not that far. It's not a couple of years. I mean, it's February of 2016. So
right.
yeah. I mean, it happens quick.
Up with you.
Yeah, before you know it, Al. I mean, but by the time you actually build a project of this size and complete the pre-construction that has to be done, that's moving at a pretty quick speed to get a project of this magnitude up and going.
Well, a lot of things you said I really agree with and appreciate the fact that the demographics or the type of people that will live in this property is across the board. You said it right. It could be the people that are reverse commuters coming back from the city, working out here, or whatever the situation might be. Or it could be a person of my age bracket that has owned a home and says, okay, I'm done with that, physically or for whatever reason, financially. I don't want to do that anymore. I want to live in a space that's not a senior home. It's a place where there's a whole community around it. And
we find that more and more, Al, that empty nesters really enjoy being in vibrant communities, and they're near the train, but they also like being near a younger group of people that live in the building and give it that energy too, that say there's a lot going on here.
Yeah.
And we got great parking. All the parking is covered, heated, and so you're never scraping snow off it. You're never walking across an open lot. You're walking inside. So it's an incredible building.
The space and the fact that it's so close and adjacent. I mean, it's in the parking lot of the METRA station, makes it just so appealing to everybody that's sensitive to wanting mass transportation as their resource, whether it's going west or east, as you pointed out. And it just brings a whole group of people, new people, into the village that are tax creating residents. Yes, they are rental people. Are just as involved in the community as homeowners and business owners, etc.
Absolutely.
I don't buy into the fact that renters are transit and don't care. I don't buy into that. And this is going to be a great project.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point you brought up, Al, is that a high-end luxury renter who works in the area and doesn't make they're as vested in this community as everybody else and wants the quality of life and doing something. So this is only going to improve Villa Park in a tremendous way. And I hope the community is as excited about it as we are, because this is transformative. This isn't just, hey, they rehabbed a little building or they did something nice. This has a chance to really change in many regards that whole area around the METRA station and create a heart and a pulse and a vibrancy. And I know this community, for all the years we've been involved here, and I've had a lot of great steak fries out at the gazebo, and it's a lot of fun and some great things. Having a place like this to congregate and to ride and come on up to, I think is sorely needed here. And I just hope everybody's as excited as we are. And we work together with the community and the village board to wrap this thing up quickly from a kind of paperwork standpoint so that this project can move forward and Villa Park can really show the rest of the area what a great place it really is.
Absolutely. And you pointed out in the last board meeting that some of the challenges that you faced in the last couple of years in terms of financing and the way the property will be marketed have been cared for at this point. You've got the financing. You've got even the insurance covered in terms of the mortgage insurance or the note insurance. Right. And the property has been redesigned as rental property and not as tall as it was in the original states. All of those things.
It's come down quite a bit. I mean, the original building, for those that were with us, was over 10 stories tall. Right. Originally, the original approval was almost 10 stories.
Almost like two towers.
Exactly.
Different towers.
Yeah.
And there are townhome style properties in this along Beverly, I believe.
Yeah,
right?
For a little larger to again to mask some of the parking.
Well, I like the momentum of this that it brings to the village. I mean, we've just had the opportunity to come together and say that yes, we need infrastructure changes in the community with the referendum for our streets, and we're spending quite a bit of money in our joint effort to get our streets fixed. This area just went through a streetscape project.
They're beautiful.
Right up in front. That's going to really blossom this spring when the trees and all the plantings are out there along Ardmore Avenue and begin this process so that what's behind that streetscape becomes this property.
Absolutely.
Rick, it's been great talking to you.
Al, thanks for having us.
Okay.
We look forward to keeping you
Thanks for watching, everybody. You'll see this on YouTube and on our cable systems in the TVVP style network. We've been talking with Rick Goldman from Golden Spike on the Garden Station project, and we'll see you next time.